Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the Stay Creative Podcast, a show dedicated to sharing indie music one talented artist at a time, while also inviting you, the listener, to get more creative, to play more music, to make more art, and to share it with your friends and your family and the outside world. The world is a better place with you in it, with your creations in it, and when we communicate and we share those ideas and creations together. Today I'm talking with John. He is the guitarist and one of the founding members of his band, Fuck Yeah, Dinosaurs. He's going to be sharing with me some of his music, of course, but also some of the things that have changed the way he's created in this band and over the years, being an artist, being a musician, and some tips that he has learned even during quarantine on promoting his music outside of his own hometown. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to his music, his website, and other things coming up, and check out their newest album, 65 Million Beers Ago. I'll start with just thanking you first off for agreeing to talk with me. I'm becoming more and more a huge fan of your music the more times I listen to it. But I want you to take a moment to introduce yourself, introduce your band to the universe.
All right, yeah. I'm John. I go by Porta John on basically every social media platform that I don't use my full name. I grew up outside of Pittsburgh, PA. I've been playing mainly guitar ever since probably middle school, like 13, 14 years old. And I now play guitar in Fuck Yeah Dinosaurs, which has been a band for on and off close to 10. Actually, we hit 10 years. So, yeah.
Nice, yeah. What got you started on music at that young age?
It's kind of funny because basically the Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remake just came out, and I kind of played through it obsessively because it reminded me of 1999 when the first one came out, and I played through it obsessively 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
But I was always into music and video games, and for whatever reason, something just made me check out Tony Hawk when it came out. And I want to say it was a demo disc because that was what we got back then. But I had a PlayStation. I played in my room a lot, and the soundtrack was just like I knew I always wanted to find new bands, and I kind of went through a natural progression where, I was the older brother, so I didn't really have anybody throwing music at me, or I wasn't going through somebody's CDs. So I went through the progression of watching MTV and being into a lot of the new metal that was out then,
Mm.
and Korn, Limp Bizkit, all that stuff. And then from there, I kind of got into metal and Metallica. And just I keep throwing it back to Tony Hawk. Like, the soundtrack had a lot of punk. I knew punk was a thing, but I didn't really, I knew like the Misfits logo, the Crimson Ghost skull. And once I got into middle school and was around more than like the 20 kids that were in my class growing up in rural Western Pennsylvania, I just said, "Hey, like, I want to get into punk. What's out there?" And I had some friends make me some mixes, and uh, combining that with Tony Hawk and like trying to learn to skate, I couldn't skate. But it came down to a Christmas where I said, "Mom, I either want a skateboard or drums." And she's like, "Well, you're never gonna get drums. I don't want to hear them in the house." I was like, "All right, I'll try guitar." And if I got the skateboard, I feel like I never would have kept up with it because I just
Mm.
had a cheap one that I messed around with and I couldn't do anything. So I got a guitar and then eventually started taking lessons and just kind of went from there. Where I knew I wanted to play in a band, so that was my motivation to like do all the basics and learn chords and just I remember those first few months of having a guitar and not knowing what to do and just being so antsy to just play.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Did you make a
yeah.
lot of uh, unlistenable noise with your guitar? Was it kind of a joyful antsiness, or was it just a timidity?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that same year I got a couple uh live Metallica DVDs. So I
Mm.
remember just sitting and like I got the basic Squire starter set with like the little crate amp and everything, and I remember just sitting in my room and just being like, "Okay, it has 6 strings. I know I want to play songs that sound like this. I don't know what to do though." And there were a couple old recordings on like the first family computer where if I was home alone, I was just like, I'm gonna make songs. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna make songs. And I think I still have them saved somewhere, but it's just like strumming open strings and yelling.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I feel like
it's
that's a
fun.
that's an essential, yeah, that's an essential building block to becoming fluent in punk rock.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So why do you think you stuck with it? What 10 years later now, you are uh front man in your dinosaur themed punk rock band, which it's funny because from far enough away, that description makes me think, oh, they're kind of a joke. I don't really listen to joke music, but the more I
Hmm.
listen to your music, the more I'm like, this is serious stuff. This is fantastic.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, what makes you do it? What makes you stick with it?
Well, first off, me and my best friend since second grade, Zach. Zach's basically the front man. We split a lot of the lead vocals,
Mm.
but he's the one. He doesn't play anything, so he's the one in the crowd, jumping around, like putting on a show. Um, so we started it together 10 years ago. I've been playing guitar for probably close to 20 years now. Um, but yeah, like 2010 we were both done with college for the summer, and I still rented the house all year round that I had for college. And he went to Penn State, which is like 2.5 hours away from where I was at, and
Mm.
he would come visit. And I think one night we just had a case of beer and an acoustic guitar, and we were like, let's just make some dumb songs. And then that turned into let's make some dumb songs about dinosaurs. So it's like I said, it's been on and off. We
Mhm.
played shows and everything then, um, but it never was meant to be a full band. And I think just because we've stayed in touch, and before that, I had bands in high school, so I think it was that, like I said, that initial drive of just wanting to play and
Mm.
being into music, and then I think once I first got that taste of like playing in front of people in high school with my high school bands that I had, I was like, you know what? I just love playing shows. It was just which was funny because I've always been kind of shy, and I don't like speaking in front of crowds. But I don't. It's something just clicks like when we play a show where it's I'm not worried about it, and it's fun. We just want to have fun.
Yeah,
So
there's like a certain freedom that pops up when you're not demanding everyone's attention, but the
oh yeah,
point of them being in this room is that they're there to watch you play your music, you know?
and I've tried the acoustic thing a couple times, and it's been all right. But it's there's such a difference being like you said, like they're focused on you, or
Yeah.
they're you know all for you. Like at least there's some other people to hide behind. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I don't know. That's it's we try to have fun, and like you said, a lot of people get that like, oh, it's a joke band. Um, we've had even back in the day when we were first playing, like 2011, 2012. There's a house venue in Pittsburgh called 222 Ormsby, which came back, but it's an old corner store that basically got gutted and turned
Mm,
into like a little DIY space. And if anybody listening, or if you've heard of the band Code Orange,
hmm.
um, they're a heavier band they're from Pittsburgh, but we used to play shows with them all the time because they used to be like a street punk band, and they all had their own little side projects. But one of the guys, I always tell this story, like they came up to me and they're like, "Oh, that was a good set. Like that was really fun. Do you think you'll ever start a serious band?" And I told them, I'm like, "Well, we take it seriously." And they were I forget what they said, but they were like, "No, like a real band." And I'm like, "What is a real band?" But I think it's evolved over time where, you know, the first songs like that night when we sat down 10 years ago, you know, one song was about dinosaurs drinking coffee. One song was about dinosaurs playing hockey. Like now it's kind of more, I don't know, if you listen to the newer album, the
Hmm.
lyrics are kind of different where it's not as jokey, but it's still all set in this weird like
Yeah.
dinosaur universe. I don't know. It's goofy, but it's we take it seriously. I don't know. It's a serious band.
It's kind of a allegorical, you know, like the dinosaurs
Yeah.
aren't the point of the story, but the dinosaurs are being used to tell a more serious story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't believe we're saying it. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it.
That's fantastic though, man. And you know, it kind of it subverts expectations in a way that will get people hooked because they are expecting some sort of Ned Flanders metal band, you know.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
everything's a little bit silly, but once they for me it changed. Like I was listening song after song of the new album,
Mhm.
65 million beers ago.
Yes.
I love the name. Listening to the new album and track after track became more uh almost nostalgic for me because I was like, this is real. This is the stuff. This is what I used to love. This is what got me into punk rock and music. Like these sounds, these concepts, these ideas. And all of a sudden I was like, this is my favorite band now, you know? Like
That's cool.
it got me. It got me where I was. Like what I needed to hear was just pouring out of it in a way that was really
Mhm.
enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, that's we spent a lot of time recording this one, and, you know, we kinda developed the sound even though it's not conscious. It's not like, "Well, let's go for this or go for this," but I've heard that from other people, especially people that, like, aren't used to seeing us or don't live around Pittsburgh, where they'll say, you know, "This is really nostalgic." Even, like,
Mm,
people our age more than younger kids or anything, like, they're like, "Oh, man, this reminds me of, like, that era of punk and stuff," and it's cool because there's not a lot of that out there right now, which
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of punk bands, but I don't know, we are kind of finding our little niche of sound, so it just takes time.
It does, it does, and it sounds. I mean, 10 years. I want to say I heard once that you've got to be willing to do something for free for 15 years before anybody's going to care, or something like that. And it sounds like you guys are getting pretty close to that mark, you know.
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure.
But I want to take a moment to ask you if there's been something in the past 20 years of you creating, you know, specifically with your guitar or just music in general, that has changed the way you create.
Going back to the early days, it was a lot of, just me throwing together chords and us trying to, like, come up with some lyrics, or I'd write the lyrics and the music. Um, we the initial incarnation when it went from me and Zach playing acoustic to a full band, We early on were just like, let's just get whoever can get involved. Let's get them involved. So
Mm.
I just would straight up make zip folders of like, here's like the 4 new songs I made this month. Um, here's a list of chords. Here's the lyrics. And if you can come play a show, here's the next show we have. And
Wow.
so it was very like I was going for like a collective thing. It never turned into like a 10 people thing. It was more like 5 or 6 interchangeable people.
Mm-hmm.
But it went from that to now. I want to say in that 10 years there was like a 5-year break, and then me, Zach, and then our friends Trip, who's been our friend. He plays bass. He's been friends with us for a while, and our friend Phil. He's our drummer. Um, we all hang out all the time anyway, and after a couple beers every once in a while, we'd be like, "Oh, we should bring back Fuck Yeah Dinosaurs. We should do it again. That band was fun." So, like, once we solidified this lineup, is when we finally said, "Okay, let's record all those old songs from 2010,"
Mm.
and that's the first album, Jurassic Drunks. And then there's like 2 songs on there that we worked on together. And then so the new one, 65 Beers Ago, is where things really started to change. Where Phil, our drummer, he has a Star Wars themed metal band called Sarlacc. And he's like, "Hey, is it weird if we use some of the riffs and kind of rework them into punk songs?" I was like, "No." And that was the changing point of me. Every band I've ever been in, I feel like I'm kind of steering the boat a little
Mm.
too. And even him throwing in his own riffs now, he's like, I don't want to be, because he'll write lyrics, he'll record like full band demos on his own now and show them to us. And he's like, well, I feel like I have too much control over it. I'm like, no, you do this, because eventually we're all going to be in a room, and triple record. Like, he's really good at writing his own bass lines. Zach's been writing lyrics or tweaking lyrics that he's not crazy about, and like I'm finally like not the only one contributing stuff. So it's cool to not be the only one being like, here's a new song, guys. Here's a new song, guys.
Mm.
It's a lot more collaborative now than it ever was, and I think that's been a really good change, and that's helping like figure out who we are.
Yeah, yeah,
as a
yeah.
band.
I
Yeah.
love when you can hear the individual influences of members in a band.
Oh yeah.
It sounds like you weren't necessarily clinging to this control, but it just so happened you were always the one bringing the songs.
Yeah, the bands I was in high school, everybody contributed, but it was kind of like we always got to the point where we had enough to play shows, and we'd have like a pool of like 10 to 12 songs. And then things would just kind of plateau, and then we'd take a break, or somebody would move away for school or something. But this is the first time where all of a sudden it's like writing a set list is hard. Like, because now we have 2 albums worth of stuff. We have a handful of covers, and then since the pandemic, we're still writing. So we have all of a sudden like a spreadsheet of like 15 songs that are in progress or to play. It's like we're moving, like things are still going. So it's cool. It's daunting, but it's fun.
Yeah, it sounds fun. It sounds like the kind of thing that absolutely is work, but it's the kind of work that really feels rewarding at the end,
Oh yeah. It's we keep up with kind of even like we took some time off when things got real bad, but at least every other Tuesday we try to get together and at least like run through some songs or work out something new. So
This shit is a work of art.
What are you
Yeah.
guys currently working on?
No, so basically the 65 million beers ago process was something. It started as let's record some demos. And then we said, okay, maybe we'll put out 2 EPs because we ended up recording like 10 songs.
Mhm.
And then the more we worked on it, we were like, okay, this will be an album. So that's why it went from February of 2019 to December. And then in December, we were like, let's try vinyl. And so the whole process just kept getting pushed and pushed. And then the
Mhm.
pandemic. So basically, that whole album was kind of like 18 months in the working by the time it actually hit Spotify.
Mhm.
And then the vinyl got delayed because of the pandemic, and we never got the vinyl till the end of August. So it's still weird because those songs to us are old, but it just kind of got released. And then as far as like what's next, we had some a bunch of people do remixes, and I want to put those out for Halloween. I think I'm gonna have them set up for October 30th on Spotify, just as like a
Yeah.
free supplemental thing.
That's awesome.
Um, I know, I think it's pronounced Loam did one,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and Slackerman did one,
That's awesome.
and
Yeah,
then
those are both Stay Creative alumnists and
yeah, yeah.
personal favorites of mine.
So those guys both did one each, which are awesome. And then we had a bunch of friends do them, a couple people in other bands in
Mhm.
Pittsburgh. I did a couple. Phil, our drummer, did a couple. So it's fun.
Yeah.
It's just I just said get weird, like bend the genre, make it not punk songs anymore. So
Mhm.
there's some really weird stuff. There's some really like it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, that sounds fun. And you
Yeah,
said that's just a short few weeks from now.
yeah. That's just gonna be a like a free digital thing. Like we'll probably put it on Bandcamp and then Spotify. Just to keep stuff coming out because that's all we can't play shows right now. So you kind of got to keep people interested. And then
Yeah.
with all the pandemic stuff, um, we still been writing. I think I said like we have like 5 or 6 songs done. We're not really ready to record yet, but at some point we'll keep the ball rolling on that.
That's cool, man. I'm looking forward to hearing the Halloween remix EP first off, but also just whatever comes next out of you guys' group. It seems like you've really hit a well, honestly, it seems like 18 months ago you really hit a stride, a comfort zone with your four personalities coming together and making this music. And I'm excited to see what a year and a half has done to that writing process.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's been interesting. It's funny because there's some stuff where we've gone back to like just being goofy. We talked about it the other night too. Like I don't know what's going to happen next. I mean,
Mm,
we have a song in the works where like our early stuff was there's some songs that are like 3 lines of lyrics and they're 90 seconds long and that's
yeah.
it. And then there's these wordier songs on the new album about like how humans are just destroying the planet. Like there's some like deep stuff.
Mm.
But the one day I kept getting ads on Instagram for these Converse dinosaur shoes, and I'm looking, and they're only in kids sizes, and I was just like, "This is stupid! Like we're the perfect market for it." So I messaged the guys. I'm like, "I want to make another song that's just another like minute, like chanty kind of like 2 lines." And so that's turned into a whole new song about how we want dinosaurs shoes in adult sizes. So we're like we're still goofy. We're still
Yeah, yeah,
it's all fun. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah. We're
yeah.
writing.
So
Yeah.
what I've got a question that I like to ask. What have you found to be maybe some tips or secrets for the promoting of your work?
Hmm. Well, I guess it kind of goes with the situation because with the pandemic and with us not being able to play shows right now, you got to get creative online. And I can totally understand why bigger bands will hire somebody to do all the social media
Mm,
and marketing because I can take a day where I'm slow at work and sit there and email like anybody that I see that's like a music writer, or especially when the album like leading up to it coming out,
mhm.
music blogs, writers, even combing Spotify for like I would just type in like punk playlists, and any playlist that would have more than a couple hundred followers, I'd check and see if it said anything about like submit here,
Mm,
just to like get the word out outside of Pittsburgh because I mean, that's all we can do. We can't do I think like in at least in the punk world, the rule of thumb was always just take a weekend and tour, just play as much as you can outside of your
yeah.
own city.
Step one, buy a van.
Yeah. We were totally set on doing that this year. Like I said, we wanted the album out in the winter. We wanted to be playing weekends here and there all summer, and that can't happen. So,
Mm,
and then I don't know. Even we've had really good luck with. There's some really good Pittsburgh music festivals that are free. Um, there's one in a town, Millville. There's Millville Music Festival. There's Deutschtown, which is kind of like in the north side of Pittsburgh. It's kind of like an older historic German area. But they're both really good things where there's just all the bars and even places that aren't normally venues like breweries or whatever. They just have bands all day. So
mhm,
those are like the more all ages things where we don't get our usual 30 people at the bar kind of thing.
mm,
So, well, even when we do those, like before things got weird, um, we would take the day that we were playing one of those festivals and just I'd print out a ton of flyers and just put really basic like dinosaurs, punk rock, beer, and a picture of Jeff Goldblum, and then it would say like like 9:30 at the blah 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 stage, and like
yeah.
that would get people would be like, yeah, I saw it, I had to check it out. So it's I don't, yeah, it's cool to have. I hate to say a gimmick
Mm,
because it is a gimmick, but like I don't know, it gets people interested. Like people
yeah.
have bought our shirts before and been like, I didn't know it was a band. I just
Mm.
thought it was a picture of Jeff Goldblum that said "fuck yeah, dinosaurs." So it's
Yeah.
you got to get creative, I guess. I mean, however you can, whether it's in person or on the internet right now with everything being closed, it's
Mm.
tough.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny because the cliche is not to judge a book by its cover, but the
Hmm.
reason that is a cliche is because it's what most people do, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if you have, quote unquote a gimmick, that is the cover by which people will say, "Ah, this is worth looking at," or I'm good," you know. So that's
yeah,
cool that
yeah.
you've found a niche, a delivery system for the music and ideas that you have, you know. That's cool.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And like I said, we're just trying to have fun. Like
Yeah.
so, if 10 people show up, we're happy. If a
Mm.
100 people show up, we say why and we're happy. You know.
Yeah. 1,000 people, you suddenly get a little nervous, but you're still
Yeah,
happy.
like what did we do?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, I'm super grateful for your time today, man. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of wrap this up. I'm excited to get this episode released before your October 30th remix release, so that people are a little more aware of it, and hopefully you see a stay creative bump, I like to call it.
Oh yeah, yeah, that'd be awesome. That's why I asked too earlier or last night. I said when do you think it'll go up? Because we got that coming out, and I can I plug a thing?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Another
The,
thing?
the whole ending here, I was going to say whatever you would like to say, it is
Oh yeah.
yours to say it. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me. I know we tried to get the whole band, but things kind of didn't line up. Our drummer is going to be gone next week, and I wanted to get the ball rolling on everything. So we got the remix digital album, I'll call it, coming out on the 30th. And then November 21st is going to be our next live stream as part of it's called Cheers Yins Fest, YNZ,
Mm,
YINZ. Um Yins is kind of like a Pittsburgh you guys or y'all.
okay.
Um people call Pittsburgh Yinzers. It's a very like lazy like Yins going down to the Steeler game kind of thing. It's
Wow.
but a guy I know is putting together a digital beer festival called Cheers Yins Fest, and we're playing, and just I think you can buy a digital ticket. Just there's a cheersynsfest.com. But all the money's going to local breweries and everybody that's kind of struggling with being open right now. So he asked us to play. We might do like a glass collaboration with him at some point. But
Yeah.
he runs it's called Fueled by Hops. It's like a beer collective. So we're playing that.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I'll if there are links available already for those pre-purchase of tickets and things like that, I'll be sure to include those in the show notes on the episode. So
Cool.
wherever people are listening to this, and also your band has a website. Is this
Yes.
the kind of stuff they can get there too?
Yeah. Actually, that's a good idea. I should put a link to those tickets on our site. Thanks.
First off, why don't
Thank
you tell us what that website is called?
Okay, so we got like the typical link tree site that hopefully will eventually turn into an actual website. It's just dinopunks.com.
Oh, yeah.
The other day I don't think I was drunk, but I was just looking for URLs to buy, and I got jeffgoldblum.org, and that takes you directly to our merch store online.
Gotcha. I did not realize that the jeffgold.org wasn't your primary site.
No.
It's awesome.
That was kind of like, and it was cheap too. It was like $12 a year. It was $1 a month. I'm like, I have to buy this. So I bought it, and then I just sent our like group text. I just sent the URL and didn't say anything.
That's
and
fantastic.
Somebody was like, "Did you really buy that?" I said, "Yes, we needed it." So yeah, jeffgoldblum.org and dinopunks.com. We'll take you to all our stuff.
Awesome, fantastic. I'll be sure to include those in the show notes, man. I'm so grateful for your time. This has been a fun conversation. And I'm just I'm just glad you are creating music, man. You're making the world a more beautiful and more thoughtful place with the effort that you put into your music.
We're trying, even if it's about dinosaurs. But,
it's good.
Yeah, I'll also say this is probably the most sober interview we will ever have.
Yeah.
Normally it spirals, so
I'm honored. Yeah.
It's a Friday morning.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, have a good rest of the day.
You too. Take it easy. Thanks.
Peace.
I want you to know that we're still alive somewhere in the South Pacific. Hiding behind rusting days, wasting away like we got days. I don't want to run into human debris. The state of your race is embarrassing me. You took all this stuff, the ball good plan, and fucked it all up, and I can't understand. We just want to find a place to rest our bones. Yeah, we just want to
I'm really grateful for what John was able to share with me today, not only his time, but his music and his experience. I'm grateful you took a moment to listen, and I hope you've picked up something helpful from our conversation, if not some paleo punk enthusiasm. I learned a few helpful things myself, of course, just the willingness to open up and let your bandmates and band members and maybe creative friends speak into what you're making. It's only going to get better when we collaborate and we share and we open our minds to other people's input. I also think it's very helpful to hear again and again and again how much work goes into not only creating music, but sharing it, getting people to hear it outside your home, outside your friend group, outside your hometown. It's always going to be work, but it's worth doing. Be sure to check the show notes for links to all of John's stuff. Maybe pick up a Fuck Yeah Dinosaurs t-shirt or a ticket to their upcoming virtual beer fest. It's very cool to know that communities that provide places to play music are still finding ways to survive and thrive, even in this time of quarantine. I am looking forward to sharing some more time with you again very soon when we have another artist on. But until then, please stay courageous, stay curious, and stay creative.